welcome to Bernadette TV, online TV to help you be the best you can be in your business and your life. And this week we're doing a special episode because I'm joined by Petya Jordan, who is a client and a friend who lives here in Belfast, like me, and you want to ask me a question. Before you ask your question, just tell everyone a little bit about you and the business that you have.
My name is Petya Jordan and I work for a company called Forever Living Products. And Forever Living Products is the largest aloe vera company. It produces, manufactures and distributes aloe vera products. And part of the business would be recommending those products, and part of it would be to build your own business, your own home-based business that you can work in the hours that suits you. So I can provide help with that.
Okay, great. And so you have a burning question that you want to ask me.
I have a really burning question, Bernadette. I have been following you for the past 2-3 years, and I find it really inspiring. How are you able to manage growing $1 million+ business and raise 2 young children at the same time?
Yeah.
I know that you actually reached your $1 million revenue business while having your second child and while raising that second child as well. And I just find it fascinating. How do you find the time to raise 2 children so at such a young age and develop your business and make it a success?
Okay. Ooh, that's a big question, and I won't say that I've always had this figured out, but I'm really happy to share with you some of the decisions that I made along the way, some of the mindset that's helped me combine the children and the business. So I think the first thing is yes, I'm a mother of 2, and I've been a single mother for most of their lives, and they are now 5 and 7. And it's absolutely right that the year that my youngest was born was actually the year that I hit $1 million in my business. So, and I hadn't remembered that until you reminded me. So thank you for that. The first year with Benon was a real struggle. It definitely was a struggle, and it was a struggle because I think everyone's been there. Until you have your first child, even though people try to tell you what's coming, nothing really prepares you for it. And with Ben in particular, he didn't sleep through the night until he was about 10 months old. So I was really, really, really weary. But I had a real burning desire. And I guess part of my motivation was my partner at the time would not have been able to support us. And so it was big girl panty time. I needed to make it work. I needed to provide for the mortgage, for my little one, and I had to find a way to make it happen.
Well, would you say that you had free time while raising the children, providing for them, growing your business? Did you have leisure time for yourself?
To start with, no. And now looking back, I realised that I made a mistake. And the first piece of childcare I got was when Benon was about 4 months old. And one of the great things about an internet business, the laptop lifestyle, is that you can get online and do what you need to when the baby's sleeping. And pretty much that's how I did it for the first 4 months of his life. And then I got an au pair. And the good thing about having the au pair is she lived with us. And I think she did somewhere between 30, I think it was about 30 hours a week that she did. But somehow I had it in my head, and I think a lot of women do this, that the hours that she was looking after the baby, I had to work. It was almost like, this unwritten rule. And I don't know whether that came from, whether I just thought I needed to make the most of my time, or whether I felt guilty, about, that if I wasn't with my child, I should therefore be working. And after she'd worked for me for a couple of months, I was really, really getting close to burnout. Because when she was minding the baby, I'd be working, and then if I wasn't working, I was minding the baby, trying to catch up on sleep. And that's when I realised, oh, actually, I'm allowed to do this. It's okay for her to be minding my child and for me to just be lying on a bed. And sometimes that's what I did. I just would go and catch up on, I'm so sleep deprived. Sometimes that was what I needed to do, was just catch up on sleep.
You had to have a goal. What was your main goal in life?
Well, the goal is, as it still is, really, which is, to be able to provide for my children, And I always wanted to have a business that could allow me time with the children and time to enjoy the children. Now, the ironic thing is, at this stage in our lives, I have the least childcare that we've ever had. And right now, my routine is I take the boys to school every morning and I collect them in the afternoon, and my business operates in between. And I also have some time off to go to the gym or do yoga and things like that during their day. And then, you know, the evenings and weekends I'm with them. But I think the reason that I'm able to do that now, that they're 5 and 7, is because in the years to get here, there were years when I was paying for full-time childcare for my children. I actually had, after the au pair, I actually had someone who again was a live-in nanny, and this was before the children were going out to school or nursery or anything like that. And I looked at that at the time as a business investment. And you know, that might sound weird, and some people might think, well, how can you think about your children or your childcare as a business investment? Well, if you want to grow a business, you know, whether you're always going to have some costs of doing business, whether it's premises or rent or stock or phone lines or whatever the cost of the business. And I just looked at childcare was an essential business cost, because it was, if I wasn't paying for the childcare, there was no business. There was no time for me to do the business. It's interesting. I never really talked about this before, but there were moments when I'd feel a bit resentful because I was in a mastermind with all of these men. And I remember going to the mastermind once and saying to them, you won't believe this. I've got a new nanny housekeeper and it's amazing. She cooks my meals. She does the laundry. She takes care of the children and the house is spotless. And all of these guys were looking back at me and they said, yeah, we've all got one of those. It's called a wife. And so there were times when I get a bit of a chip on my shoulder and I'm like, oh, you know, why is, you know, before I even get to work, I've already had to spend this amount of money for support that, you know, my male competitors have through their spouse. And, you know, I just had to get over that, you know, because that sort of thinking will really do your head in.
You've mentioned earlier that you being concentrated and disciplined and working hard to develop your business. Now, only a few years later, you actually have the free time to spend with your children.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, time, because the fact is we all have the same 24 hours in the day, and it's like some people use that excuse to not exercise. Oh, I haven't got time to exercise. And I think, well, President Obama goes for his jog every morning, right? He's running a big country, and yet he can still find time for exercise. So the truth is, it's not about having the time, it's about finding the time. And one of the things that I think is a challenge for women is not so much time. I think it's more to do with mental bandwidth. And I do think this is one of the areas where I had a bit of advantage, but that we need to declutter our head, because sometimes, you know, women, we're carrying a lot of projects and a lot of things in our head all the time. And this might make you laugh, but one of the things that I started doing from the time that Benham was born was I started operating my home and running my home as though it were my business. So the things is, we had a manual, like a household operations manual, so that if someone wanted to come and do laundry for me, for example, I wasn't having to explain how to use the washing machine every time. And so there were some systems that I put in place at home. For example, shopping online and having a weekly menu plan, so I wasn't having to think every day, well, what am I going to cook tonight? Other things that I still do this, I love to do this, my freezer is stocked full of cottage pie and casseroles and spaghetti bolognese, like lovely home cooked food that I love to feed my children, but I don't want to cook from scratch every single night. So every couple of months I'll do a big batch cook and I'll fill the freezer. So there were a lot of things in terms of batching and systematizing and things that I had brought from, let's say, the business side to bring over to my home so that the home can run smoothly. Now, I know some women run their homes like that, but many women are running their home as though they're indispensable, that nothing can happen if they don't do it. And I think if you were to start to make yourself less indispensable at home, the support is there, and you know, you may or may not have a supportive partner, but you know, often the man in your life or people in your life do want to help you, but it's like you've set things up that you can't be helped. So I've been fortunate enough in the last few years to go to Necker Island, and I met Richard Branson, and one of the things that I really learned from him is he talked about firing yourself. And I think as women, probably one of the first things we can do if you're a working woman combining family with career is to fire yourself from your home. because there are certain things that happen in your home that absolutely only you can do. Only you can kiss your daughter goodnight. Yeah. Only you can tuck her in that special way. Only you can be there for her in the middle of the night if she wakes up and she's afraid, right? There's certain things that only you can do forever in her life. And yet there's tons of things that go on in our homes every day, like filling the dishwasher, laundry, mopping the floors. That does not have to be done by us.
It's been amazing talking to you, and thank you very much for the advice given. And I would recommend to anyone to go on Bernadette TV and watch the series, because they've been all very inspiring and amazing. You can achieve amazing results by following Bernadette's advice.
Thank you so much, Petya. So we would love to hear you share your thoughts on this. As you can hear, this is a topic I'm very passionate about. Thank you so much. I didn't know we were going to be talking about this, but it's something that I love to share on. And, you know, it's women around the world. This is it for us, isn't it? It's like, how do we combine, you know, raising our children, which is so important, and the things that we want to do in a career or a business. So we'd love to hear your thoughts. Come on over to my blog at bernadettedoyle.com and tell us how this episode has impacted you, you know, what's going on for you in terms of combining career and children. And also, if you would like more episodes like this, come and subscribe. You'll see right up here, there's a subscribe button. And come and subscribe, and the good old people at YouTube will make sure that you don't miss a single episode. So that's it from me, and I thank you once again, Petya.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you next time on the next episode of Bernadette TV.
Hi, Rihanna. Look at your mummy. Are you proud of your mummy? Here on TV. Yay.